Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we are part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help make it one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office, in the office-worthy podcast. Today is Tuesday, the 24th of August, 2021. Welcome back, Kristy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How was your adventure? How was your trip?
It was certainly an adventure. Let's just say that. I was going to go to a wedding that was outside. It was going to be all COVID safe. But in fact, we had a bit of a COVID outbreak just before the wedding among my extended family and friends. So we ended up not having, well, I never actually made it to the wedding. I am fine, but my mother actually has COVID.
Yeah.
My son got stuck on the East Coast after having to quarantine for a couple of days, and I think he's flying home this morning with his father. Anyway, it's been a bit of a little bit of a crazy week.
Really,
so just
kind of stressful.
Very stressful. So this the latest variants are definitely, there are breakthrough cases that happen. Nobody in the group nobody that I know has been seriously ill, knock on wood, but it definitely, it's not impossible to get, and it's very transmissible.
Yes. Yeah.
So, even when people are being really careful, wearing masks when they're outside and having like safe bubbles, once it gets in the bubble, it gets spread around pretty fast.
It's going to be shared in the bubble. Yeah. Well, I certainly feel for the bride and groom and everyone who was affected by that. I know I was waiting with bated breath because I had gotten a little bit of a preview that Kristy was perhaps a wee bit stranded. And I'm sorry that you did not get to have the adventure you planned, but instead you said you had an interesting enough time in Boston, right?
I definitely did. It was a great adventure. I love that city. I just didn't get to do a lot of family time.
Yeah.
That was what I was going for. But
you might not remember if we go all the way back to last Monday, but it was actually the story that we were talking about, the trash story that was inspired by your Boston trash observations that really came together as our Optimist Daily challenge this past week and this past weekend. So I strutted around with my little trash picker upper and collected trash in my neighborhood, and I collected trash over by the supermarket that I mentioned in the past. People looked at me quite oddly, but it was worth it. And I think a lot of our listeners also participated. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. It was pretty exciting. We enjoyed it. I know Ariel yesterday sat in your seat, and she was a delightful guest. She was a delightful co-host. I loved having her. We're so excited to have such a cool writing team and editorial team at the Optimist Daily. And I like to have other voices on here. So thank you again to Ariel and Amelia for sitting in. And, expect to hear from more of them because Kristy and I might take, a day off here or there. But today is not that day. Today, you and I are digging in and getting to work because there is a lot to be accomplished in the month ahead at the Optimist Daily. We're going to be relaunching our site. Many of you will see a new visual experience at the Optimist Daily, making it easier to search all of our legacy articles. The editorial team has also been working incredibly hard on our key pillar pages that talk about important things like what is EV circularity, which was actually our Optimist View this past weekend. So we have a ton of things to accomplish as we are back to school, per se, at the Optimist Daily, leaving our summer vacations or failed summer vacations, because I guess you and I both had 2 COVID failed summer vacations. But
it's true.
Leaving those in the dust and marching on to pumpkin spice of the fall. Kristy, What story got you going on the
Well,
Optimist Daily this
I
morning?
really think you should do yours first. I think yours is kind of a fun one, and
Sure.
I think that it'll get us talking.
Okay. Yes. Well, and talking is important. So
Yes.
my headline is super cutesy, but also super interesting. It harkens back to our conversation about learning kind of the matriarchal structure of giraffes and that continued dive into our animal compatriots here on this earth, knowing that they are a lot more like us than we thought. This headline reads, Babbling Bats. Winged mammals could teach us about human language. You might not think we have much in common with bats, but it turns out, everybody, nocturnal creatures may provide critical insights into human language development. Some industrious researchers at the Museum of Natural History in Berlin spent months studying bat colonies in Panama and Costa Rica and found that baby bats babble very similar to the way that babies do. Learning that mammals in general share similar language development patterns and even brain structure can help us further understand that cognitive and neuromolecular foundations of vocal learning. One of my favorite shows on Netflix, series on Netflix when Brennan was first here on this earth, was a show called Babies, and it talked about the neuromolecular development of language and babbling. And babbling is basically mimicry, right? Before you master language, babies attempt to mimic the sounds they hear adults make. And these babbling bats had a vocal repertoire of 25 distinct syllable types. Now, what I think is so cute is that actually adult bats baby talk back
I
to
think that
babbling baby
I
bats.
love that too, Summers. I think that's so hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like there was the internet meme, Kristy, remember, of like baby bats and blankets that everyone was looking at, and they were so cute. And I think that this story is it's very lyrical, right? And we went around and we tried to find audio clips of the sound
Yeah,
of baby bats.
I don't think we can hear
Unfortunately,
their frequency though.
no, we cannot hear their frequency,
We
and
need
there
to put on
hasn't
our
been
bat ears to
sure.
listen.
Right. So we don't have our bat radar to be able to hear these baby babbling bats. But it was a pretty precious story. And, I love it when we have stories like this on the Optimist Daily, because I think every once in a while we need a feel good story, but also one that has implications in scientific research and in understanding how we all evolve into the adults we are today.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things, I mean, my background is anthropology, and one of the key tenets there is that in order to really understand yourself and our own culture, you have to go look at other societies, other cultures.
Right.
And by getting that kind of cross comparisons, it gives you new insight into your own experiences, your own knowledge base. It allows you to have a broader understanding. And I think that's why diversity is so important. And that's why creativity happens at the margins.
Yeah.
And cross species comparisons is another really important place to find insights into even the evolution of human language. So I think this is fantastic. Thanks for talking about this, Summers. I just wanted you to start with your article about talking
Right.
and listening, and even if we can't hear the bats speak because we don't share their kind of hearing, but it's kind of an interesting counterpoint to my story that I chose to focus on.
Yes, we are on the audio waves
Audio
here.
waves, that's right, because I wanted to focus on the article. Headline reads, "The Value of Silence in a Noisy World." And I think was it last week that we were talking about the light pollution and the dark sky
Right, Dark
park
Skies Initiatives.
in,
Yes, that was
in
last week.
Montana
Mhm.
and Canada? One of the other pollution categories that we don't usually think about, we think about the air we breathe, but noise is a tremendously problematic category that we just take for granted. They say that silence is golden, but most of the time in modern world, we have very little opportunity where we're silent or we allow silence in our world. I
Right.
don't know about you, but when I wake up and I get dressed, I either have music on or I have the news on. Most people are, even when they're alone in their homes, they might turn on the TV. They have something going around them, whether it's music or television or other chatter happening.
I recently realized that we do almost always have sound happening in our home, right? And even when playing with my
Yeah.
daughter, I'll put music on. And I was thinking, and I have begun to take her into a room where we don't have a smart speaker device, because I can't say it, because
Yeah.
if I do, she'll start
Yeah.
talking back.
Yeah. Right.
To play there to get away from it.
Right. And you have a voice command and you've got whatever station you want going on. And then more than that, if you live in an urban environment, you have airplanes. I live near an airplane path. You have cars, you have trucks, you have the trash truck. It all makes noise.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, though, that's not so good for us. There's a new report coming out from the World Health Organization that suggests that perhaps a third of everybody around in the world shaves off an entire year of their life just due to noise. It's been linked to heart disease, tinnitus, sleep loss, high blood pressure. It creates stress in our environments, and it's a stress that we are really good at, quotes, tuning out on a conscious level, but we still feel it in our bodies.
Yeah. And that's a
So,
shocking number to determine
yeah,
that many.
third of us
Yeah, that's
are,
crazy.
shortening our lives because
Yeah.
of noise pollution. Now, there's something you can do about it though,
Okay.
because to mitigate the negative effects of excessive sound, if we seek out silence and actually sit for just 30 minutes a day when there's no distraction, nothing else, and we're just sitting there, it actually is really beneficial. And we're talking not even music. It is true that music can be relaxing and it can effectively calm them. However, silence is even more effective, according to a study from a magazine called Heart. So, when participants in this study were exposed to an interval of silence even after listening to compared to meditative music, there was an increase in their physical relaxation that just from the reduction of that stimuli. The other thing is when you get out of that constant sort of distraction, constant low level noise,
Mm-hmm.
you can enter a state of self reflection that is really challenging to get to otherwise. And that can help you process information, both external and internal. That can lead to better decision making. It can lead to more self awareness. And I think, honestly, Summers, I think that's probably why we don't like to be alone with our thoughts.
Yes.
We're not
There's
used to that. We avoid that because it's uncomfortable often.
I think that this is such an important article to read, and thing to remember is that those moments of silence and being alone with your own thoughts. That's funny. There was just an alarm ding on my computer. I'm not sure if the audio caught that, but we are completely surrounded by reminders and dings and buzzes, and it allows
Exactly.
us to not be in our own brain or space. I know that for me, I have not had much quiet meditative or reflective time, and I think it's an important reminder that that is really of value to mental health and wellness.
And it's not just mental health, but it's also just cognitive growth.
Yeah.
In fact, so the 30 minutes is kind of the baseline to strive for, because then there's another study from Brain Structure and Function that showed that by committing to 2 hours of daily silence, there's neurogenesis that happens in the hippocampus. So it actually helps to regenerate brain cells. So that's something
I
else.
just
That's a lot
I
to
mean, in
commit
my
to.
plastic-free 2 hours of silence, trash picking up. But you know what? This is important for us to think about. Potentially, this could be an Optimist Daily update challenge
I think it
for the
could.
weekend. Something to
I
consider.
It's something to
Where
consider.
can we find moments of silence? Everybody,
Quiet
check out the
time.
article. Tell us where you find moments of silence and how you incorporate silence into your life. And after you listen to a podcast, of course. Kristy, what else do we have on the Optimist Daily today?
Well, other articles from today's headlines include this diet is the best for reproductive health, according to an epidemiologist. We talked a few months ago about lowering sperm counts and
Mm-hmm.
the fertility crisis. So this might
Right.
be a good way to counteract that. There's 5 ways to naturally lower cholesterol, something else to consider. Manchester City is the first team to offer soccer fans edible coffee cups. And I haven't
Wait,
read that article, but I
I
want to go
almost
see
picked this one because
how do
I
you eat your
love
coffee
it.
cups. I mean, that's got to be a whole snack. It's like a whole new level of breakfast, right?
I loved that story.
There's a community in
Absolutely.
California enacting a new ban on gas stations. So we're moving away from gas and carbon and into the post-carbon economy. I love that. What else, Summers?
We have a smart wheelchair enabling users to climb stairs and adjust height. There is lab fermented chocolate solving the industry's child labor problems.
Get them to grow some coffee too, since
Yes, we need our coffee in our edible cups. South Korea to increase animal protection by granting them legal status, and how to care for your trees year round. That and much, much more, as always, is available on theoptimistdaily.com. Thank you for listening to the Optimist Daily Update. We promise to continue to share positive, solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to cover the current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offer you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
Thanks, everybody. And if you haven't already become an emissary, which is how we're funded, please consider doing so on theoptimistdaily.com. And for just $5 a month or a little bit more if you have the means, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism and be part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. If we're all thinking together, we're going to change the world. So let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those of us who can. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more solutions.
Bye, guys.